Hey guys, and welcome to Aussie Reviews, and welcome to the first Q&A series of 2019. So we've got a heap of comments here guys and questions, so if you'd like to be a part of this, by all means join up and follow me on Patreon, and you can submit your questions monthly. For those of you, and there have been a few, who don't like the idea of Patreon because of the stance and belief on firearms that Patreon has, you can still donate, okay? I've had a handful of emails about this now, and you can actually make a donation to Aussie Reviews through PayPal. If you want to do that, then it's just aussiereviews@gmail.com. That's the ID, and you can simply make a donation from there if you wish to do so. Okay, so let's jump into this month's questions. So the first question I've got here is from Connor, and he says, are night vision scopes worth it for fox hunting? Well, mate, are they worth it depends on a few things. I mean, how often are you going to be out there fox hunting? I mean, a lot of people talk about fox hunting, but they may only do it once every 6 months, once every 3 months. You have to ask yourself how often you're going to do it to see if this is going to be worth buying, for yourself. And why I say is it worth buying, because I've had a look at, one of the ATN ones that was about $1,000, and I was not impressed at all. I couldn't even do a review on it. It was that bad in my own view. However, they do have better models available now, and this is the thing, you can go right up like $5,000, even more. Do you want to spend that just to go out and hunt some foxes, or are you happy just simply using a spotlight with a red filter and calling them in, the old-fashioned way? So it's really something that you'd have to ask yourself. Some of the really good night vision, I've definitely played with, and yeah, it's fantastic. Definitely has its purpose and everything else. But once again, mate, you really just have to make sure that you're going to get the use from it before you fork out that money for it, okay? Now the next question I got here is from Sean, and very simply he says, how are you, Aussie? How was your Christmas and New Year? Well, mate, mine was good. I had a little bit of time off, just spending some quality time with family and friends, but definitely back into the full swing of things now. And the next question I got here is from Ian, and he says, any comment on the Gun World Christmas billboard? I saw this myself, and my immediate reaction was it was a bad idea. A gun wrapped up in paper with a bow near a tree, the idea of it going under the tree and being a Christmas gift, in my opinion, is a very poor idea. I take gun safety seriously, including gun ownership, and something I believe you would only buy for yourself with the correct permit and with your own clear need. To me, this is worse than people giving pets as a gift. Okay, a couple of thoughts on it, mate. I've got no problems with the billboard, because I've said it from the get-go when I started this channel, with exposure comes normality. Now, anyone who looks at that and thinks, great, I'm going to buy a firearm and put it under the tree, well, obviously they can't, because as soon as they go into a gun shop and do that, they'll have to get a permit to acquire. They'll be explained all the legal parts of it, and naturally you're going to need a license to even buy something like that. So, there was a bit of humour with it, in the sense of it was the idea to me. It wasn't the physical action of putting a firearm under the tree. It was the idea that, hey, buy a firearm for someone for Christmas. So whether that's a gift voucher from the shop or something else. So that's how I interpreted it, and took it that way. I guess too, Ian, I was around before 1996, and I had firearms put under the tree for me, and I tell you what, the earth didn't just suddenly explode. These anti-gunners these days are just pushing people into political correctness, especially with firearms. And they've really trained a lot of shooters to eat their own. And what I mean by that is, if there's someone and some safety isn't 100% adhered to, just like this, a lot of people will just go, no, that's definitely not right, and I take gun safety really seriously. Hey, I do too, but you've got to look at the purpose of the actual billboard and what it represents there. So where I'm going with this, mate, is I just don't like the way that shooters have been brainwashed into this. Having a firearm is a privilege. We have to be ridiculously to the letter of the law, because any wavering from that, even a joke, will result in a license confiscation and all this sort of thing. Yes, I am a big person for firearm safety. I mean, if I have someone here shooting on the farm with me and they screw around with safety or whatever, well, they're shown the front gate very, very quickly. So yes, I'm very serious with it there, but when it comes to things like this with the billboard, I see it for what it is, and I don't like the political correctness that's jammed down our throats from these anti-gunners to try to train shooters into this belief that it's a privilege and we can take it from you at any time, and you need to report other shooters, because what will happen, mate, is unfortunately, right, even though your intentions here are good, saying, okay, yeah, I believe it's a poor idea, and look, everyone's entitled to their own viewpoint. The problem is, mate, is these anti-gunners, like weapons licensing and all the rest of them, they will use people like yourself to go, look, see, shooters think this is a bad idea. They even did it when it was with regards to the possibility of people having Cat C firearms for voluntary pest control. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that in my view. However, what they do, they went and got a farmer who believed that it was a really bad idea for shooters just to have this, and then putting himself into this, self-made elite category of a farmer who's got these firearms that nobody else should have. Since day one, I've always said that people who are licensed shooters and have gone through the background checks should be able to have an AR-15. Why not? Do you really think that if you were going to do something wrong, that an AR-15 is going to do any more damage than someone getting out there with 15 rounds of .308, in a bolt action, lever action firearm? Let's be honest about it. I think people are just jumping to, conclusions. And the other thing is the amount of firearms that get stolen off licensed shooters, even with correct storage, to me really shows that there is a problem in society, and the problem isn't the licensed shooters, it's the criminals and the lack of action and consequence for those people who do the break-ins and all the rest of it. In my view, they should be removed from society so that we can continue to go on and enjoy our lives without having to be burdened with all these restrictive legislative requirements. Just in case a criminal breaks into our house, we've got to safeguard it. It shouldn't be like that in my view. It should be back onto the criminal. So it's sort of going off on a little bit of a tangent there, mate, but that's my belief on it. And honestly, I don't really see any harm with it. Like I say, with exposure comes normality. If it was a billboard and they were shooting towards a target with someone like holding a target or something like that, which was just damn right dangerous, then obviously I wouldn't feel the same about it. But to try to get a message across saying, hey, Santa knows what you want for Christmas. It's the idea of purchasing a firearm or equipment, for someone for Christmas, and that's the way I saw it. Next question I got here is from Ryan. He says, hi Ozzie, give us your thoughts on door knocking for access on properties to shoot on with all the biosecurity signs popping up, particularly when the signs have no phone number. Mate, look, it's, as I said in that beginner series video on how to access, a property for recreational shooting, you've really got to just follow those tips there. Now, like I say, door knocking, yes, that's one approach you can do. A biosecurity sign, provided you just stay completely on the path into the place and you're not wandering around the paddocks and everything, I wouldn't imagine any farmer would have a problem with it. That's all I can suggest there. I've got a similar question coming up, which I'll go into a bit more detail with regards to access to properties. Next question I got here is from F-Tops, and he says, hey Ozzie, your 7615 video appears to be removed from YouTube. Any idea why? Also, do you still own one? Thanks for continuing your Q&A segment and all the other good stuff you do. Cheers. Well, mate, yes, the story behind that was that I got a message from YouTube and they said that my Remington 7615 video breached community guidelines. So the community guidelines for YouTube with relation to firearms is very straightforward and simple. You can't show a bump stock installing an automatic trigger or automatic firearms. Okay, now there's plenty of videos out there that obviously do breach that, but they're still on YouTube, no problem at all. So I appealed it, and the appeal gave me one line to do it, so one sentence, which was not enough information, to appeal it in my view. But anyhow, so I put in there saying that that doesn't breach any of these, please tell me what I've breached. Went in, bang, automatic, no, we uphold our decision, you've breached the guidelines, without telling me what I had actually breached. So that got removed, lost well over 100,000 views, because that gets subtracted from your channel as well. And yeah, gone. And there's just no voice or anything like that. I may actually look at putting up some sort of link and asking you guys to actually help out and write a message to YouTube, because that seems to be the way things work these days, is if there's people power, then they seem to go back on their decisions. But mate, look, if you want to see it, and I've been asked this a couple of times by people, go to AussieReviews.com. Okay, so you'll see all my videos there, uninterrupted. You know, there's no political BS there that's going to restrict you seeing them. So yeah, head over to AussieReviews.com and you'll still be able to see my 7615 video. As for actually owning one, mate, no, I sold it because I bought the Ruger SR 556, so the AR-15. I thought, why have a pump 223 when I can have a semi-auto one? So that's why I ended up selling it. Next question I got here is from Justin. He says, "G'day Ozzie, thanks for all the great work you do supporting the shooting community in this great country of ours. I've recently taken shooting back up after a break of 30 years. I've found another 30 years, I have found after 30 years what little skills I had have now gone. I know the only way to improve is practice, practice and more practice. However, is there any chance you can create a beginner video with tips for aiming, holding rifle correctly, trigger control, etc.? Especially firing a rifle from the offhand position. At the moment I am lucky to get on paper from the offhand position, let alone some scoring shots. I need all the help I can get. Keep up the great work, mate. I, for one, am greatly appreciative of all the work you put in. Cheers, Justin." Well, mate, thanks very much for the question. A couple of years ago when I went down to Southern Shooters, I was running a hunting course there, and their laws are a little bit different down there, so yeah, it was covering all that sort of thing. Now I sort of held off, I guess, on doing a video on it because, you know, it's probably easier if there's like, you know, someone in front of me, so then I can correct different things that stand out. Where obviously if you're watching a video, you may think that you're doing it right, but you know, to a person watching you, they can see that it's not quite correct, that sort of thing. I have also been playing with the idea of doing some firearm coaching up here, but I've just got to work out the logistics of where to do it and things like that. So obviously it'll be for a fee. I can't go and coach someone for a day for nothing, but if there is interest in that, I may actually explore that idea, and I might have a look at a video, you know, perhaps a beginner video there, just on some real basics as well. So yeah, just if you're interested in that, mate, let me know, and yeah, I can hopefully work something out. Now, next couple of questions I've got here is from Cam. He says, "Hi Ozzie, being a newcomer to this sport, having category A and B license, I wanted to know answers to the below questions. Number one, if I possess a firearm of a specific calibre and want to replace it, sell it or surrender it, will I be allowed to buy a new firearm of the same calibre without the PTA?" Okay, so yes, here in Queensland we have a like-for-like system. So if you have the same category of firearm, the same action and the same calibre, you can do a like-for-like on that same day that you surrender it. Okay, so you can't surrender it and then get another firearm in another week's time. It's just simply to go into a gun shop, pick another one off the shelf that you want that's the same calibre, same action, same category, and then you can just like-for-like it, so you won't require a permit to acquire. Now, second part of your question is, if I possess a firearm of a specific calibre and want to replace it or surrender it, will I be allowed to buy a new firearm of a different calibre? Can you explain this, whether I need a PTA or anything else extra I need to do? For example, any more steps? Well, yes, as soon as you go to a new calibre, you're surrendering the firearm by selling it or whatever. To get that new firearm, you must have a permit to acquire. So that means applying online, paying your money and putting in your genuine reason for why you want that firearm and calibre. Now, the third question you got here is, what is the best way to discard ammo that I have in stock if I go and change the firearm, especially to a new calibre? Well, mate, look, my advice is probably use the ammunition you got. Here in Queensland, you actually can't sell ammunition unless you have a dealer's license, okay, and that's under the explosives regulation that you can't do that. A lot of people here in Queensland make the mistake, and I see them all the time advertised like on used guns, ammunition for sale, and I'm thinking, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You know, at any time, anyone from that explosives inspectorate can charge you, you know, so definitely don't do it. I would just use it, as simple as that. Now, your last question is, I got my license issued in last December. I've heard that in the first year I cannot acquire or buy more than one rifle. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? Thanks, Ozzie, in advance. Cheers, Cam. Well, mate, I've never even heard of that with regards to a rifle. In your first year, you can purchase as many rifles as you want, you know, under A and B, provided you can justify it. Under Category A, you don't actually need to put in a genuine reason. The permit to acquire will just simply be issued here in Queensland. And for Category B, you can have multiple firearms, even of the same calibre, okay? You just need to be able to justify it. So in other words, if you've got a 308 and you want another 308, you can justify it by saying, well, the 308 you got as a sporting, lightweight hunting firearm, and you wish to buy a 308 for actual target shooting. Okay, that two complete different uses there, requiring two different platforms of rifles. So, you know, you can use many excuses like that to justify your genuine reason. Next question I got here is from Michael and also from Sean. Now, the two of them have asked the same question. Hey Ozzie, given the recent events surrounding Patreon, do you have a backup plan in place just in case you get kicked off the site? And do you intend to move to an alternate crowdfunding site or ride the wheels on Patreon until the wheels come off? Well, mate, pretty much so. I mean, look, I haven't really heard too much with what's going on, apart from you guys who have got back to me and said that they're taking a very anti-gun stance. I mean, I'd like to see the details of it. Are they becoming like that because of what's actually posted on Patreon, or what the channel or the person holding the account represents? So yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm going to just keep going until, you know, there is an issue. Then obviously I'll submit my reasons, you know, to them to protest any sort of ban if that's the way it comes up. As for an alternate, as I said in the intro here, mate, you know, I've got PayPal available. People can make donations at any time on that by just simply sending money via PayPal to aussiereviews@gmail.com. So obviously it doesn't need to be a recurring donation like Patreon. You know, some people have messaged me and said, well, look, I just want to be able to make a once-off donation to you, mate. Usually I try to talk them into me at least giving them some merchandise, you know, like polo shirts and caps, you know, for their actual donation. But people do insist and just want to make a donation and don't want anything for it. So that's another option that you got available to you. Next question I got here is from Fred, and he says, hey Ozzie, mate, I know we are getting closer to the election time and things are turning out like a circus amongst politicians nowadays. Good, bad, I really don't know anymore, but would like you to be able to give us your thoughts on what's happening here in New South Wales. And as for myself, family and friends, all gun owners, we need to know who to vote for. Much appreciated, Fred. Mate, if it was me personally, and I was a New South Wales resident, I'd definitely be voting for David Leyonhjelm from the Liberal Democrats. I believe he's going to be running for the upper house down there. I've met David a number of times. You know, I've sat down, I've spoken to him at length, and you know, there's some issues that you know, don't really concern me or affect me, but there's other issues that certainly do, like the firearm ownership. And David has been an absolute champion in that arena. Not only that, I mean, he helped me personally when I had problems with the Attorney General's Department, you know, just drowning me in red tape and trying to hold up permits for longer than, you know, 5 and 6 months. You know, he was able to get on the phone, get to the bottom of it and get those permits sorted. So, you know, he's actually not just blabbering off at the mouth with just words or lip service. The guy actually does a hell of a lot for shooters, and he's only one man. but you guys in New South Wales really need him, in my view. The nanny state problems in New South Wales is just out of control, and you really need someone like him that doesn't believe in big government, that believes that you give the government the rights, not the other way around. That's someone who's very close to my own beliefs, and I would strongly be voting for him if I was a firearm owner in New South Wales. Next question I got here is from Thor, and he says, "Hey Ozzie, what are some recommendations on gaining a farm or a property owner's trust as a young shooter? I'm going to start door knocking and letterbox dropping soon and try to find some places to hunt. I'm aware that most property owners don't want anything to do with young shooters due to the poor reputation left behind by others. So should I tell them my shooting hunting history and maybe include references from older people I've been shooting with? Cheers." Well mate, I'm not sure if you've seen that video or not in my beginner series on how to gain access to different rural properties for recreational shooting. There's a heap of ideas in there. I mean, you've taken up a lot of them there by door knocking, letterbox dropping, that sort of thing. The biggest thing that I did mention in that was, letting them know that you are fully insured. Okay, so in other words, you go out there recreationally. If you shooters union member, for example, you've got that 10 million in liability insurance. So I would be strongly suggesting you mention that to them. And at the end of the day, mate, it's up to them. They're just normal human beings at the end of the day. I mean, if you have a stranger just approach you and want to come to your place, how would you react? You've just got to work at sensible levels there and gain the trust. The other way that you could possibly do it if you don't have any luck whatsoever, like I said, you can try that farmer assist program with the SSAA. You could even volunteer to go out to properties and actually do a bit of work. So advertise in the local paper. There's a numerous amount of ways. People are all individually different, so it depends on what you say and how you articulate yourself to what their response is going to be. Next question I got here is from Edward, and he says, "Hey Ozzie, what new stuff from SHOT Show are you excited to get your hands on for review? Cheers." Well mate, I was a little bit disappointed, I guess, with a lot of the videos from SHOT Show this year. There wasn't a lot of stuff that really sort of excited me. One of the biggest things I've been waiting with anticipation for is an announcement of their 20 or 22 Winchester Super Magnum rimfire. The 1.7 WSM, yes, it packs a punch and all the rest of it, but because it was neck down from a 25 caliber nail gun, I do not understand why they haven't released a 20 or 22 WSM, and I was hoping that this year maybe they would. So I was a bit disappointed with that one. However, there was two products that really stood out to me personally that I'd like to try. One was the Taurus TX22 pistol. Now that's basically a striker fire polymer pistol, but it's built from the ground up for the 22. Now it's a 4.1 inch barrel, so we'd obviously have to put a muzzle brake on it or a compensator to make it club legal here in Australia. All people like myself with an occupational license, I could just get one as standard. Comes standard with 16 rounds, so obviously if it's for sports use you'd then have to get the 10 rounds. But it just looks really good. From the video that I saw there, the presenter from Taurus was saying that it's dry fire safe, so you can just dry fire it, no problem at all, and it runs everything from standard velocity right up to your hyper velocity 22 rounds with no problem at all. So I thought, what a great little 22 that was. It was like $329 US, so I mean it'd come out under $1,000 here in Australia. A good price and looked very interesting. On the side of rifles, the Daniel Defense, the Delta 5, it's got the AICS magazine. There's barrel interchangeability. It comes out at 6.5. Creedmoor 308, and I think they got 7mm Remington mag, or just 7mm 08, I think. Sorry. I'd have to check on that because they did just say 7mm, and I'm thinking with the size of the action and everything like that, it wouldn't be 7mm Remington Magnum. But like cold hammer forged steel barrel, the thing looks really nice. And I know since posting about it on Facebook there, huntsmen here in Australia are looking at importing them, so it'll be very interesting to see what the final price point is here and how they perform. I mean, I'd definitely like to have a look at one and review one, that's for sure. So yeah, they were the two items that really stood out to me. There was other stuff that was obviously Cat C and D that's not really applicable to a lot of people here, but mainly they were the two items. Next question I got here is from Mick, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm looking at buying another centerfire rifle. I presently have a Savage Axis 243 and am tossing up between 6.5 Creedmoor, 7mm 08, 270 and 308. Ammo and rifle costs aren't that much different between them. Rifle would mainly be used for pigs, goats and deer. The 243 can take all of these game, but I want something with a bit more hitting power. I'm leaning towards the 6.5 Creedmoor and 7mm 08 because supposedly they have less recoil. Appreciate your thoughts. Cheers, Mick." Well, mate, are you recoil sensitive? That's why I'm asking. Because 270 and 308 certainly have got a stout bit of recoil there, especially if you get it in a lightweight hunting rifle. Now, when I look at it, I mean, the first thing I looked at, pigs, goats and deer, and I'm thinking, geez, the amount of pigs, goats and deer that I've taken with the 243, like it does the job perfectly, especially with the bullets that we've got now, our projectiles. They're really good hunting projectiles, and correct shot placement, you'll do it every time. So, is there a need to go to another calibre? Probably not, but if you want to, hey, by all means, and that's why we enjoy shooting. So as for ammo difference, mate, 6.5 Creedmoor, there is a massive difference between 6.5 Creedmoor compared to like 308. Creedmoor's like $3 a shot, where 308 you can get it for about $1.20 a shot. Very similar with the 7mm 08. Look, I remember years ago, my old man had a 7mm 08 and he ended up selling it because the cost of everything for it was just ridiculous. The ammunition costs, buying shells, all the rest of it, you're just better off with the 308. The 270, look, 270 is probably the ultimate deer cartridge in my view. Certainly packs a lot of punch, flat shooting and fantastic on deer. But depending on what distance you're shooting at, I mean, you're talking goats, pigs and deer here. So honestly, absolute maximum, maybe about 200 yards. Most of your shots are going to be sort of between that 75 and 125 yards. Really, out of all of those calibers, there's not going to be any difference at that distance. Dead is dead. So I'd say probably for the ease of ammunition, like the cheapness of ammunition, like you can get the cheaper Spear 130 grain and also the OSA 135 grain Sierras in 308, and for that you're paying just over $1 a shot for good factory ammo, where if you then go and buy 270, 7mm 08 or 6.5, you're certainly going to be paying a lot more than that. So that'd be probably where I would lean to. But mate, if money's no object and you just want to get something and you are recoil sensitive, look, 6.5 Creedmoor. But if you're going to then go and shoot deer in states where there's restrictions, okay, and they have a minimum of 270, well, obviously you're going to have to go to 270, okay? So 6.8 cal or 7 mil, all right? So 6.5 won't cut it, so you have to go to 270 to achieve that minimum. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, mate. Any other questions, just flick me a quick email and I'll get back to you. Now, the last question I got here is from Greg, and he says, how to tell when your barrel is too hot, Ozzie? I recently got a Lithgow 223 and put 100 rounds through it to run it in and noticed it got very hot. It remained that way for quite some time. How hot is too hot, and what's the point should you take a break? Good question, mate, because when I'm doing reviews and I'm always doing different groups and testing ammunition to see which ammo performs the best in that rifle. The same sort of thing. I mean, what you guys at home don't see, obviously, is after I've edited, the amount of time that I'm actually, shooting. So, for example, like if I'm shooting, 5 different groups, 5 shots each of different ammunition. So what I'll do is I'll fire those 5 shots. The barrel will start to warm up a bit, but then, usually I'll just put a patch of G96 through it, just to push it through, fire the next shot into the ground basically, or into the backstop there, and then I'll fire 5 shots for a new group. But in between that, there's obviously a rest, where it's sitting for 5 or 10 minutes. When it gets too hot, like when I did the Lithgow rebarrel video recently, it was a hell of a hot day. And I mean, I was sitting there letting it sit for, 20 odd minutes, and it really wasn't cooling down that much. The barrel was still hot to touch. So I've always had, this is my own personal guideline or benchmark that I've always used. If you touch that barrel and you can't keep your hand on it because it's too hot, it's time to take a break, okay? And when I say take a break, let it cool down for 15, 20 minutes. If it's a really, really hot day like we have here in Australia, look, sometimes you can't avoid it, but you just have to be sensible with how you're shooting. I mean, if you're going to be out there with a 308 and you're just putting round through round through round, and you fire like 200 rounds out of it pretty much consistently, well, yeah, you're going to run a hell of a risk of damaging that barrel, and things will definitely be too hot. So yeah, bit of common sense with it, but that's usually my guideline or benchmark that I use. If I can grab the barrel and hang on to it, and it's not burning me, then that's fine, I'll keep shooting. If I touch it and it's way too hot and I can't keep my hand on it, then mate, I just take a break. Okay guys, so that concludes all the Q&A for this month of January 2019. So look, hope you really enjoyed it. If you do want to become a part of it, or you just want to be able to help out and donate to keep us going, as most of you guys know, we don't have the sponsors or anyone throwing us money like that, where we can just afford to just keep producing videos. I do rely on you guys to help me out there, and I greatly appreciate every single one of you, regardless of whether it's $1 or $50 or $100. I don't care what it is. I do truly appreciate the generosity of you guys to keep me going, so when you come to my channel, you're going to get a truly independent viewpoint on exactly how a piece of equipment, whether it's a firearm or a scope or anything like that, you'll know exactly how it performs and works for me at the time. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the Q&A, so till next time, we'll catch you then.